Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We really need to talk about that paralyzing vertigo you feel when you're standing at a massive crossroads in your life, the terror of absolute freedom, and how we move beyond living a provisional life.
You know exactly the feeling I'm talking about, right? You probably have more choices available to you right now than any other generation in human history. But instead of feeling completely liberated by all those options, you just feel frozen. You're waiting. You're waiting for a gut feeling, a clear nap, maybe some kind of cosmic script to just drop out of the sky and tell you what the right move is. You're basically looking for something or someone to look at you and say, hey, this is why you're here, and this is exactly what you need to do next. But you look around, and that sign, yeah, it never comes.
So what actually fills that silence? Usually, it's this incredibly hollow, restless anxiety. It's that nagging feeling that makes you want to just run away and crawl right back into your old familiar routines, even the completely miserable ones, just so you can feel safe again. Honestly, it's literally like staring at a massive 10-page restaurant menu until you start panicking and you just order a plain cheeseburger because it's safe. Now, you might tell yourself in those moments that you're just being indecisive or you just need a little more time to think. But according to the psychological concepts we're exploring today, you're actually experiencing something way more profound than just simple indecision.
Legendary psychiatrist Irvin Yalom actually has a specific term for this exact feeling. He calls it the terror of absolute freedom. Yalom spent over 60 years sitting in a room with people navigating their deepest psychological pain, and he realized something huge. Freedom is actually one of the ultimate concerns of human existence. It's literally one of those core things that keeps us staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. We usually think of freedom as this purely amazing, positive thing, right? But in an existential sense, it carries a massive, genuinely terrifying burden.
Because here's the thing. True freedom isn't just about picking a career path or deciding on a weekend hobby. It's the deeply unsettling realization that there is absolutely no predetermined script for your life. No cosmic authority stamped a purpose onto your forehead before you arrived here. No perfect path was paved just for you to casually stroll down.
And because there is no script, it means you, and only you, are radically, inescapably responsible for constructing your own existence. Let's be honest for a second. That level of radical responsibility is incredibly heavy to carry. In fact, it is so heavy and so terrifying that most of us spend our entire lives engineering these elaborate ways to outsource our freedom to external forces. We do everything we can just so we don't have to bear the full weight of it ourselves.
And because we try so hard to outsource this burden, we often end up living what's known as an unchosen life. And it sneaks up on you. It happens so subtly. Maybe you took a job out of college just because it made sense on paper at the time. Or maybe you've stayed in a relationship years past its expiration date simply because the logistics of leaving felt way too complicated. Or, maybe you adopted a public persona just to please your family or your culture, and now waking up every day just feels like an exhausting performance.
The really harsh reality here is that we adopt all these inherited scripts without even fully realizing we're doing it. And why do we do it? Well, because it's ultimately so much easier to play the victim of our circumstances than to take radical ownership of our choices. Think about it. It's infinitely more comfortable to just shrug and say, well, society expects me to act this way, than to look in the mirror and admit the hardest truth of all. I am the one choosing this, and I am the absolute only one who can change it.
This intense avoidance of ownership drops us right into what psychologists call the not yet trap. This is where we end up living a provisional life. A provisional life is one that feels almost real. It feels almost yours, but it's constantly on hold, pending the arrival of this magical calling or a sign that, spoiler alert, never quite comes. You're essentially spending your days just passively waiting on a train platform for meaning to arrive, acting like it's a scheduled train and your only job in life is just to stand there until it pulls up.
So these behaviors kind of snowball into two entirely different ways of existing. On one hand, you've got the passive, managed life. This is where you outsource your freedom, avoid responsibility, and just wait on that platform. This is in stark contrast to the active, authored life. The authored life demands radical responsibility. It means actively creating your own meaning and making your choices with full, unapologetic awareness.
Now, if you actually want to cross over from the managed life to the authored life, Yalom drops a pretty necessary hard truth on us. The universe simply does not come with a built-in purpose. There is no universal safety net waiting below to catch you. Meaning isn't something you're ever going to just find hiding under a rock or buried in some self-help book. It's something that has to be actively forged, often through really uncomfortable, messy engagement with your reality.
So to stop waiting on that platform, we need a massive paradigm shift. And here's the greatest paradox in all of this.
The exact same terrifying freedom that allowed your unchosen life to accumulate in the first place, that is the exact same tool you need to take back control. The freedom that allowed you to drift is the very same freedom that allows you to steer.
Okay, so practically speaking, how do we actually do this? Think of this as your personal authorship protocol. Step 1. You have to strip away the protective excuses. No more blaming bad luck or telling yourself it's just not the right time yet. Step 2. Ruthlessly interrogate your reality. Ask yourself, what am I still actively choosing simply by not changing it? Then ask, what would I choose differently right now if I were choosing with my eyes wide open, with full awareness? And finally, you actually have to take action. Make just one genuine, fully aware decision, knowing that you are the one holding the pen.
But keep in mind, taking ownership isn't some grand, cinematic, overnight destination that you just magically arrive at and you're cured. It's a lifelong commitment to daily, conscious practices of engagement. It looks like choosing to deepen a relationship where you allow yourself to be genuinely known, rather than just performing for someone. It's pursuing work that connects to what you actually value, instead of what just makes sense to everybody else. And it's actively creating something that makes a difference beyond just yourself. Now, I do have to give you a quick warning before we wrap up. The absolute hardest truth in all of this is that crossing this psychological threshold is a total point of no return. You really can't go back to that comfortable, passive, managed life once you've seen the machinery running it behind the scenes. Once you finally recognize your own freedom, you can no longer plead ignorance to your own profound agency. You just can't unsee your own capability to choose.
And what that means is that the silence you've been running away from your whole life, it isn't an empty void. And that vertigo you feel when you don't know what to do next, it's not proof that you're broken or lost. Actually, that anxiety is simply your own existence demanding to be examined by you. It is the undeniable, rock-solid evidence of your own authorship, just waiting for you to pick up the pen and write the next chapter.
Which brings us to one final, completely inescapable question to close out this explainer. What have you been waiting for permission to do? Seriously, what is that one thing you've been putting off, just standing on the platform, waiting for a sign that is never, ever going to come? The only permission you will ever need to start authoring your own existence is your own. The pen is already in your hand, so what are you going to write?